if you can answer, but any matchups you look at that you really like, or anything that you like about your team that can maybe explain?
I wouldn't say matchups. There may be 5-on-5, 5-man on 5-man, but I think they'll probably switch some, and we switch some. So there'll probably be some different matchups that maybe somebody tries to play to through a switch. But it's too early in the season to know enough. We watched them, what they've done so far, and I'm sure they've watched our 2 exhibitions in our game against Howard, and we didn't show anything, and I don't think they've shown a ton. So we don't really know. We can go back and watch last year's games towards the end of the season that they played, but for the most part, they've obviously got good personnel, and they're terrific on the perimeter, and they're going to play 3 guards, and they're lightning quick and can get downhill. So it'll be a big challenge for our guards, for sure.
And I know, obviously, year 22 for you. You've always been give credit to your coaches, former players. You're coming up on Fog Island. Have you given any thought to what that would mean in terms of just looking back when this journey started and to where you are now?
I
mean, it's a significant.
It's a significant number because it means I'm damn old, and it also means that we play a lot more games now per year than what they did back in. If Fogg had played 30 games a year back when he was coaching for 39 years, that's that record. That's 1,200 games. That record wouldn't ever be touched. I'm sure it is significant to some, and I'm sure past players, play a role in that without question. But I've been the beneficiary of a lot of good players and good staff, and being at a place you can recruit good guys. I don't think I will read into it any more than that. I hold him in such high regard that I don't think that he deserves to be thought of as always the most innovative and the best coach to ever coach here. So nothing that will happen from this point forward will convince me otherwise. He just did it in a different time when we have a lot of advantages now that he had to build, and we didn't have to do that. So I give him all the credit, and I think other coaches that have coached here, if they really thought about it and understood history, they would feel the exact same way I do.
Bill, I don't know what the adjective is, but is it weird these 2 schools haven't played more in the regular season, given who they are?
You know what? How many times have we played overall ever? 12. Yeah, that's a small number. Kentucky and Kansas went years and didn't play regular season, but I think we've ended up. I think that number's probably 35 now, something like that. So 12 is a ridiculously small number, considering of the 12, I know of at least 4 and probably 6 or 8 that came in the NCAA tournament. Right. So that means you got on one hand you can probably count the number of regular season matchups. It's a different time. I'm not emotionally tied to Carolina like others that have been here have been emotionally tied to Carolina. Hubert's not emotionally tied to Kansas like Coach Smith and Coach Williams was tied to Kansas. So it's probably different for us. Even though I think that both of us would hold the other in high regard without question and respect everything that's taken place at both places, I think sometimes when you can remove that or have at least a couple of degrees of separation, it just feels different and makes it for a better game, makes for a better game and a better competitive game. And I think that's probably the case with this. I think it's an awesome game this early in the season. I know our guys will be jacked, their guys will be jacked. It's going to be fun. We met a couple of years ago in Hubert's first year, and there's just our history is so intertwined that you can't help but respect the other because we're not what we are, either one of us, without the other. So it just makes it a special series, one that I know Sean got set up for us to play home and home, but this would be one I would say anytime you play Carolina, you play Carolina, just like Kentucky or Duke or whatever, and certainly we're happy to host them, and then we'll see how tomorrow goes, and then we'll decide if we want to return the game next year.
All right, Coach, given y'all's history with them and the significance, of this game, and just the one other time that y'all played here was in 1960, the only other time that you guys have met in Allen Fieldhouse. How important is it to protect the home court, in this game tomorrow against a team like North Carolina?
It's always important to protect your home court. It has no more significance in the way that you describe it than any other game. Let's just call it like it is. It's a second game, and the teams that play tomorrow night, we hope aren't recognizable in March. We both got to get a lot better, regardless of how tomorrow night goes. And so it's significant probably from a fan standpoint and pride standpoint more than it actually is the significance of what this game actually means in both teams trying to vie to put themselves in the best position to compete for all the marbles this year.
Bill, we don't see a lot of these games on campus, right? Like Duke's playing Arizona in a home and home, but they're pretty rare. What are the benefits specifically, and maybe there's some drawbacks too, of actually playing home and home on campus again in a game like this?
Well, I think the way that we schedule and the way that Carolina schedules and everybody's schedules moving forward has to be thought of differently since we're in a new era of college athletics. And how do we generate money when basically there's a big portion of it that is coming out of a budget that, okay, how do we replace $20 million? Every school in America is going to look at it. So I would say you play games that generate gate, whether that be a neutral site game, whether that be a home and home game. But from my perspective, you need to play, and from Sean's perspective, I believe, you need to play enough quality to make sure your season ticket buyers get the bang for the buck. And we try to do that every year. And of course that'll take place again this year. Then after that, how do we generate as much money for our institution and our athletic department that we possibly can? So there'll be some different strategies moving forward with scheduling, i.e. the exempt tournaments, the MTEs, that schools may have done some things in the past out of the experiences that those type events provided, to now we'll be looking at it. Experiences are important, but so is the bottom line too. And we'll, schools have to do more things towards that. So I think the home and homes are good. I don't think you can play 3 home and home, 6 games against home and home people a year. I don't even know if you can play 4 moving forward. This year we're playing 4, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that right, Sean? We got at Creighton, and we have at Missouri, and then we have NC State at home. And so next year we'll go to NC State and we'll go to Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Missouri. And Missouri will be a home game for us. So just depending on what we want to do with that, we'll probably complete a cycle. And then after that, who knows how we'll schedule? Who knows how we'll do it? Because we'll do it based on how much revenue can be generated.
You talked about how early in the season this game is arriving, and this is the kind of game where you might find yourself playing like a tighter rotation, like last year against UConn, basically played 6 guys. How would you approach that, knowing that it's so early and maybe you're still figuring out who you can trust and to what extent?
We played 6 guys against UConn last year?
Technically 8, but 2 of them were like 2 minutes apiece.
It was 8. Our rotation was 8 deep last year in that situation. I will tell you this year it won't be 6. But the reality of it is, you want to win this game, but you also have to prepare to win on Tuesday too. And historically, Tuesday's been the first big game of the year, if I'm not mistaken, because I think Connecticut was actually early December last year. People won't want to hear this. We want to win the game, but we also don't want to put our team in a position that we can be better moving forward and having guys' minds right and that kind of stuff too. So certainly I anticipate trusting my rotation a lot more than what you said I did last year, even though 8 seems like a pretty big number last year.
Coach, when you look at this Carolina team, they obviously have these 3 guards. What kind of threat does each of those guards provide? Is it a different threat, or are each of them sort of similar players?
One of them's a National Player of the Year candidate. You know, he can get downhill, he can shoot the basketball. Even against Elon the other night, when they were kind of laboring, you know, he just put them on their back and go win the game. Another one got 33 on the road at Memphis this year. Another one is probably as true a point guard and from a skill standpoint, passing the ball as you'll find. And then maybe maybe down the road, the 2 best prospects come off the bench. You don't know that, but that's you know, so that's a loaded backcourt without question. And the thing I would say that impresses me about them as much as anything, just in general, from the guard standpoint, is when they play downhill. They don't play side to side. They put pressure on you, and all 3 of them do it equally well in that respect.
Sure. You saw RJ Davis, their star guard, in the national title game in 2022. How much has he evolved as a player since then?
Well, he was good then, but yeah, he's better now. I mean, I don't believe that year he was a first-team All-American, and he's going to be a first-team All-American this year, and he was last year too. So he's a much better basketball player, but he was pretty damn good then as well.
Coach, I know you had mentioned that you hope that this team looks very different in March compared to how it does now. Does it have any effect, scheduling a high caliber game like this in the second game of the season, does that have any effect on the development and the growth of the team, especially the young players?
Great question, because in a perfect world, if you have a lot of newcomers, you probably want to get into it a little bit slower in a perfect world, so you get confidence and have guys get confidence in the way we're trying to do things. This is definitely an imperfect world, and my schedulings are over there said we don't get a chance to play Carolina home and home, so we're going to play them whenever it works out for both of us. And so this is when we had to do it in order to have to play them. So just the way it is, and I want to look at it as positive. I mean, you can learn more about your group by playing a team like Carolina than you can playing a guarantee game in many ways. Although sometimes the lessons taught through these type of games, may not end as happily as what some of the other lessons that can be taught, but certainly a game to give both teams attention.
Anything else? Gary?
Do you think you would?
Hold on a second. You're not going to ask me who started. No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Gary.
Do you think you would put Juan on RJ?
Could, yeah,
or
we could.
Rylan guarded him last year
Could,
for Alabama.
yeah, we could do that too.
Would you throw different
Could,
balls?
we could, yeah, that's exactly right. Could, yeah, exactly. Great question.
What about Shaq? Is he available?
I don't think he's going to play. I don't think he's going to play. He did not practice yesterday. So since he's been off for, when did we play? Did we play on Monday? And he was, last day he went was Friday or something like that. So no, without him practicing, even if he practiced today, I probably wouldn't play him tomorrow. So
Has
I
Hunter
think,
held up well?
yeah, Hunter's been fine. Hunter's been fine.
And I just wondered, you're pretty close with Larry Brown. Were you aware he played in that game in the field house in 1960?
I didn't. I'll be honest. I was not aware that KU hosted Carolina in 1960, but Coach, I could be wrong. Was he a senior in 1960 and played on the Olympic team in 60? I think that's right. So doesn't surprise me that that's the case. But I had no idea that he played then. Hopefully, I haven't talked to Coach. We talked to one of his buddies, Doug Compton, and he's not coming to this game. I wish he was, but I think he has other things, commitments going on and couldn't make it. But certainly, we'll try to use that somehow as motivation in some way, shape, or form, I guess. Anybody else?
We're good. Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys. Have a good one.